welcome. Welcome to Nothing But Fine Bible Talk, and I'm your host, Emily Trotter. So glad that you're here. Listen, I want to say some things. You can not only just listen to these as a podcast from wherever you get your podcasts from, all the streaming places, you can also watch it on YouTube. There's a link, I believe, on the website. See, again, I want to tell you guys things, but I don't ever look until it's time for me to tell you. I don't ever do the research. I take that back. Not always. Only concerning myself and my links and my stuff, whatever. But we're on YouTube. You can you can look for Emily Trotter. I think will get you there, no problems. But don't just do Nothing But Fine. That won't help. Nor does Bible Talk, because I think there's too many. So if you'll do like Emily Trotter or Emily Trotter Bible Talk or Emily Trotter Nothing But Fine, I think if you try any of the combination of the three, you're going to get there. So please go try that out. Because I think that I only have 2 subscribers, so I know that y'all aren't listening, watching, and it's me and Jim are the 2. So we need to broaden that a little bit. I mean, I'm told that if you ever get to like 1,000 subscribers, there's like a prize. So that's a big line, a big bar that I've set. But won't he do it? Nothing is impossible with God. Is that what we learned from Mary and Elizabeth? So here, anyway, so do that. Then you can go to nothingbutfine.com and you can find the notes that go with these. You can see how far I strayed off track from what I was going to say and what I actually said. You can check that out. There are blog posts there, some photos that probably need to be updated. And you can sign up for my newsletter, which is super fun for me to write. And it's just once a month. It's a fun story. It's not very long. And I tell you about things that usually the book that I'm reading, or listening to on Audible. We've started that too. And then some products that I'm really enjoying and really loving. And that, they're not links. There are links like to the product, but I don't make any money off of it. I'm not that kind of influencer. I'm not saying I wouldn't love it. But, yeah, I do this just for fun and for all of you. And I don't make any money at it. So, but it's just links. So don't think, oh, let me click this, whatever. Emily just wants us. No, it doesn't have it. I just want you to listen to me. That's my reward. That you sign up for the newsletter and open it. And even read it. And then if you click something, that's even better. But I don't get anything from it other than just the sheer joy that you care and that you like you're interested in what I like. Okay? Now, there's that bit of business taken care of. So we've been talking about women, and what we started out doing was, because you're like, oh, everyone's talking about women. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about women and females and all that kind of stuff around in the world these days. But I don't think any of it's good necessarily or correct for the most part. Because it's always like, you got to do this, you got to do that. No, don't do that. Do this and do it like, oh, no, not like that. Don't do it like that. You can't think that. You can't dress like that. You can't, whatever. We've got all of that going on. And so when I first started to do this, my whole point was to look at it as, let's see what God says about women. Let's see what he was thinking when he created us, okay? And kind of the roles that we think we have and what we think what God would have us do. And we missed the mark. We totally missed the mark, okay? Everybody across the board in all different genres and creeds and beliefs, everyone's getting it wrong. Sometimes, not everyone. I shouldn't say everyone's getting it wrong, but the majority, there's a lot of, conflicting things out there, right? And so as we've traveled along down this road, what I've realized is we've kind of taken a turn. We've kind of merged into a different lane of looking at these women in the Bible and saying, hey, this is an attribute that I need to pick up. This is a habit, like with Anna, the prophetess in the temple when Jesus was brought in as a baby. her habit was to be about praise and worship and studying and being in the temple and just beseeching the Lord and praying for herself, for her neighbors, for Israel in general, for Jerusalem, right? So we are looking at these women and we're thinking, I need to have some of these habits, or I don't need to do that, or ooh, yikes. So we're looking at all of these things. And so that's kind of what this has turned into. Way to go. I think this is really helpful. Especially for me, and I think that I'm getting some feedback that you guys are loving it too, and so it's turned into be a little bit longer of a little, I don't want to say chapter, but it's turned out to be a little bit longer of a series that I had anticipated or even planned for. So today we're going to talk about Mary and Martha, and they are sisters. They're obviously there's two of them, sisters, and I think that would have been an excellent song for them. They could have pulled this off because I feel like they had the whole we love each other, but oh my goodness, don't take my sweater. So they are these sisters that are mentioned several times, and in all the Gospels, they're mentioned, mostly because they are the sister of Lazarus. And who is Lazarus? He was the guy that was raised from the dead, okay? And we're going to talk about that, but first we have to meet them for the first time, okay? So they're mentioned several times. Clearly, Jesus was friends with their family, and I think that they had an intimate relationship. Why? Because when Lazarus does die, this is the shortest verse in the Bible, and it is Jesus wept. He wept for Lazarus's death. Now, well, we're not going to get into that. This isn't about that. This is about Mary and Martha. And Mary was a common name. As you know, there were 100 Marys. Everyone was named Mary. And so this is that Mary. And so they lived in Bethany, which is 2 miles. I don't remember which direction, but 2 miles from the temple in Jerusalem, okay? So, and think about it. You think, well, that's just right there. That's literally, but you have to think. I mean, I always have to remind myself, yeah, I mean, on a map, it's literally like they're the same dot, right? But that was all foot. I mean, you didn't hop on a bike, or, I mean, maybe you rode a donkey or something. I don't know, but you, yeah, it was just by foot. So that 2 miles is a little bit of a distance in those days, okay? Something to travel, kind of get out of town, that's enough distance to get out of crowds, right? But close enough to still be there, okay? That you could make it there in a day, all right? That none of that is important for what we're talking about now, other than I'm giving you context as to where these sisters live, okay? So what we're going to do first is we're going to read these verses. The translation I'm going to read out of is the New King James Version. It's in Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42. Now it happened as they went that he entered a certain village, remember that's Bethany, and a certain woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. Now, we assume because he's welcoming him into her home that she's the oldest and that she's in charge, okay? This is her home that she's opening up to them. And she had a sister called Mary who also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was distracted with much serving, and she approached him and said, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Therefore tell her to help me." And Jesus answered and said to her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things, but one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen that good part, which will not be taken away from her." Now, how do you feel about this? I'll tell you how I feel about it. Seriously? Seriously. You're going, Jesus, you're going to tell me that I'm the one that's wrong? While little Miss Mary just sits? No, that is rude. She needs to help. She's being disrespectful to me and to you because she's not taking care of you. Right? That's how I read it. Clearly, I am an oldest child and often feel put upon. No, I don't feel put upon. But as oldest children, if you're an oldest child, don't you have the feeling that you're like everything is you're in charge of everything? You just feel like you are. Like if I don't do this, no one is going to do this. And I'm a girl. So I feel that pressure to see about, I mean, maybe oldest girls aren't all like this. I mean, oldest boys aren't because, well, maybe oldest boys that don't have sisters are because Jim has sisters. He's the oldest, but he has sisters. And so this does not affect him the same way. Um, but I'm also one of those people that's like, if you're into the Enneagram, I'm a two, so I'm a helper. And the thing about helpers is, yes, we help. We are selfless. We will take care of things. We run in and say, how can I serve? You know, what needs to be done? Let me help you. That's who we are. That's what we do. The downside of that is that we're often going, "Ugh, I have to do everything. I am in charge. No one's recognizing it. No one's helping me. I have planned a party. No one is planning a party for me. What? I seriously? That's kind of how we feel. And I feel this coming out of Martha. Maybe it's just me. If you don't read it that way, please let me know because I would love to hear a different a different interpretation of this. But that's what I am feeling for Martha in this scenario. And then to have Jesus say, Martha, Mary's made a better choice. I'm not going to tell her to quit doing it. But he says, first of all, he says, Martha, Martha. And that him repeating her name is showing a lot of emotion. He was invested in her. And I am willing to bet that he was very aware of what she was doing, that he was watching her serve. He was appreciative of it. He was glad that she had invited him in. He was glad for the hospitality, and I'm sure the disciples that were with him were also glad. And I mean, Mary, Martha, she's got a big enough house, and it's her house, obviously, because she's invited him in. She's got a big enough house that she can seat and take care of this many people. And she's probably kind of used to, she's calling the shots. She wants to make sure things are happening, right? But Jesus is watching her. I have to believe that Jesus is watching her, and when she notices that Mary, when she looks around to see where Mary is and can't find her, she runs back into the kitchen. It's like, where's Mary? And then she comes back out, probably carrying something, and finally sees that Mary is just sitting right at the feet of Jesus. You know who sits at the feet of people? Disciples. Was that anything that was done then? No, typically not. Typically, women were not encouraged to learn all the things. I don't know. Were there any other rabbis and teachers that would allow women to sit at their feet? And I mean, to sit at someone's feet is just the ultimate, just humility, and to humble yourself. Just sit at their feet, right? And there she sits. And when it says that she was sitting at his feet, the grammar used there, and I don't understand all that, so don't ask me for the details. But what I've read is the grammar there means that she made an active decision to go and sit. It wasn't like she ended up there. When she saw where Jesus was, she went and sat at his feet on purpose. She wanted to hear what he had to say. She wanted to hear that. Right? And then the next part of that is that, but Martha was too distracted. And that word distracted, the word that they're using means to be pulled apart by something. It's pulling her and drawing her focus from something else. It's drawing her attention. And so she can't even really pay attention to what Jesus is saying and what's going on because she is so focused on making sure that everything is perfect, that everything is how it should be. And she goes to Jesus believing that he's going to back her up. She believes that Jesus is going to say, Mary, get up in here, help your sister. That like probably Mary's heard 1,000 times growing up. Go help your sister. Go help her out. Go see what Martha can do, what Martha needs you to do. Go help her. Martha is expecting, counting on that, and is just taken aback by by Jesus saying, Martha, Martha. There are a lot of things that required. And Mary's doing the one that matters. Now, that's not to say that what Martha was doing wasn't important. It is. It was important. But at a certain point, was she doing too much? Had she taken it just a step too far? Tony Evans says in his commentary that it's easy for us to be distracted from God when we think we're ministering to him. What? Tony, are you kidding me? I think what? To be distracted, to be pulled apart from God because you're serving God? What? Wow. Wow. And that made me think, it just really made me think about it because it's like, well, how do I know if I'm distracted from actually serving the Lord? How do I know that I'm getting off track? I think and I had to really check myself because if you hate it or have a bad attitude about it, chances are you've gotten off track a little bit. If you hate to go, and I used to tell years and years ago, Jim and I went to a church where every time you had a child, your name got added to the nursery rotation again. We have 4 boys. We spent more time in the nursery than we did in big church. And we were like, why are we coming? We'll just keep our kids at home. What are we doing? We had the worst, especially me. I had the worst attitude about it. I was like, I hate this. But Emily, no, I was like, well, I can't do this. I hate it. I absolutely hate it because we're here all the time. So, and I have to check myself with some of this, doing this. Because a lot of the time I'm excited I'll get real fired up about wanting to share with y'all what I've learned. But sometimes it's inconvenient to have to come up here and turn on and try. Like I told you, I'm trying to do this YouTube thing. So I have to be presentable, sort of. I mean, I have to have on a matching outfit. I always put on my hoops, right? And and that's when I get a little bit Martha. Because, I mean, do my earrings matter? No. Do y'all care that I have on lipstick? Maybe. Maybe not. I mean, it shouldn't matter to me, I guess, because I'm not doing it to wear lipstick on YouTube. See, I struggle with this. I'm convicted by this. I'm convicted by that Martha, Martha, because I can hear Jesus saying, Emily, Emily, only one thing is required, that you sit at my feet and help other people to do that as well. Because what Martha was doing wasn't wrong or wasn't bad. she was maybe just overdoing it a little bit. I look at it like this. Several years ago, because when I first read this story, I was like, I need to. I was really convicted, and it dawned on me too that when you invite someone over, you are inviting them over to be with them, to fellowship with them, to laugh and talk and just be together. And if I'm stuck in the kitchen the whole time preparing and then cleaning, I miss out on all the stuff that I invited you over for. So I made it a point to, if we're eating dinner, then we're sitting afterwards, we're leaving the kitchen, and unless we're just sitting in the kitchen, whatever's fine. But I'm not going to clean up right then, and I don't expect you to either. Now, I'm also a little weird about my dishwasher, so do not come to my home and think you're helping me, Kim Shore. Bless her. She's also a helper. I'm sorry I've called you out, Kim, but I don't require that from you. I'm not expecting, and I know, and Jesus is like, look, I've just compared myself to Jesus. Well, I think we have the same heart on this. This is what I think Jesus is saying. I appreciate you wanting to serve and help me. I appreciate you wanting to do this, but what I really want is to be with you. I really want to spend time with you. I really want to sit and talk and hear your thoughts and laugh and carry on and, make memories. I really want to just spend time with you. Please get out of the kitchen. Because when in my house, I am making that choice and that effort to not worry about what's in the sink or what's on the counters, but to be present in that moment. That's what I'm choosing to do. And I do feel sorry for Martha here. And I get a little bit, Mary, oh, she's chosen what's right. That's kind of how I feel about it. But it's only because I realize that Mary's right. She made the better choice. And I should be more concerned about sitting at the feet of Jesus than making sure stuff looks right. Right? I want to share with you what C.S. Lewis said. See, I've got so many things stacked right here. Because so there is a the C.S. Lewis Bible. Okay, here it is, and it's got, it's a Bible, but it's got little excerpts on not everything in the Bible. But it'll have these little things for reflections. And so lo and behold, there was one for this passage. And he wrote this, and it's from a letter to Mary Willis Shelbourne, March 19th, 1956. I have no idea who Mary Willis Shelbourne is. I have no idea. But here's what C.S. Lewis wrote to her, and the title is Demanding Distractions. Don't be too easily convinced that God really wants you to do all sorts of work you needn't do. Each must do his duty in that state of life to which God has called him. Remember that a belief in the virtues of doing for doing's sake is characteristically feminine, characteristically American, and characteristically modern, so that 3 veils may divide you from the correct view. There can be intemperance in work just as in drink. What feels like zeal may be only fidgets or even the flattering of one's self-importance. As MacDonald says, in holy things may be unholy greed. And by doing what one's stationed and its duties does not demand, one can make oneself less fit for the duties it does demand, and so commit some injustice. Just you give Mary a little chance as well as Martha. I loved this, saying just because that's your duty and that's what you're supposed to be doing, don't just do that. You might be doing more. You might be doing too much. And it says it's characteristically feminine and American and modern that we're doing all this busy, that we're busy. So there's that, what he says. And then there's this that, no, not that one. See, I've got too many here. I wish y'all could see all these stacks. This is the Jensen Franklin Bible, the Legacy Study Bible. It's also a New King James Version. And he has, again, just like all these, he has little stories in here. He's talking about, and he's talking, his title is Families That Succeed. Because he's saying you cannot be so spiritual that you neglect natural things, yet you cannot be so natural that you neglect the spiritual things. There has to be a balance. I know a lot of pastors' children who really struggle in their teen and adult years, and the reason is that they basically grew up without a dad around. They're, because we all think our preachers are there for us, right? That they're at our beck and call and have to be open to us 24/7, okay? They were too busy doing God's work. I remember thinking that I don't ever want the reason for my kids to hate church. It's because you were doing God's work. God's perfect will is somewhere between Martha's kitchen and Mary's altar. I love that. When Jesus came to Martha's house, all Martha cared about was the cleanness of the house and the food on the table. Everything needed to be in order. Mary, however, got down on her knees and poured oil on the feet of Jesus and worshiped him. And this was tough for Martha to accept. And it bugged Martha. Yikes. Her sister's worship and her sister's right choice bugged her, probably a little bit. Why? Because it was convicting. Because it was convicting. Y'all, this story always gets me. It always gets me, and it always convicts me in the same exact way that I just need to sit down and be still, sit and listen. Because I have a hard time just take a deep breath. And part of that, too, I think is I feel awkward. I know I've invited people over. 9 times out of 10, I know the people that I've invited, and it's not like I should be awkward with them. Yet when people come over, there's always that, oh, hey, I'm so glad you're here. There's always this excitement that I'm like, oh, now what? Or if we have every time we've ever entertained, I'm so excited for it to happen, and I want to put everything together, and I want it to look just so and be perfect. Yet I'm always like, oh, good, you're here. You've seen the house. Now go home. And part of that is my introverted self that no one thinks that I am introverted, but I am. I really just want you to go home now. No, I'm kidding. I do love to be with you. I really love. There's nothing more than I love than to sit around and just relax and talk. I love conversation and real small group, intimate settings, being there. I love to be at your feet, listening to what you have to say. I really, really do. But there's part of that is, okay, everybody's here now. Whew, I'm exhausted. Now what? We're not done. We got to keep on going. I think that's part of the deal. And you stay distracted and you stay busy so you're not so awkward. Right? For me it is. Maybe Martha felt that way too. But she was called out. And here's the thing. Why was she called out? Because Jesus wanted her to sit at his feet. Because Jesus loved her and wanted to spend time with her. He wants the same thing with you. Why? Because Jesus loves you.